Most people who own a rice cooker have exactly one use for it. They measure the rice, add water to the line, press the button, and walk away. That was not how my grandmother Yuki used hers. Yuki was a warm woman who loved to cook, and her rice cooker ran every single day of her life, not just for rice. She used it to brew drinks, proof bread, make a healing porridge, and clean the appliance without a scrub brush. Some of what she did traces back centuries to practices Japanese women were following in the 9th century imperial court. A tiny strip of dried kombu, barely €1 at any Asian grocery, sits at the heart of some of her most important tricks, and the compound it carries, a savory molecule called glutamic acid, is the thread that runs through the whole list. This is 30 of those tricks, counting down from the everyday to the extraordinary. Stay with me especially to number 2, which connects to a beauty tradition that Japanese women have kept since the Heian period and that most people never connect to a kitchen. Let's go. Number 30, the rinse ritual. Swirl cold water through your dry rice for about 30 seconds, drain when the water turns milky white, and repeat 3 to 4 times until the liquid runs mostly clear. Japanese home cooks have done this for as long as there has been milled rice. Milling leaves a coat of loose surface starch, amylopectin, on every grain. Cook that residue in with everything else, and it gelatinizes in the water, bonding grains into a sticky mass. Rinsing removes it before the heat ever touches it. Number 29, the batch size secret. If your rice always seems better at a restaurant or someone else's house, volume might be part of the reason. Cook at minimum 2 to 3 of the measuring cups that came with your appliance, roughly 360 to 540 milliliters of uncooked grain. Smaller batches sit unevenly in the pot and steam cannot circulate properly around them. The grains near the outer edge cook before the center catches up. More rice means more even heat distribution and more consistent steam. Number 28, the golden ratio. For Japanese short grain white rice, the correct measurement by volume is 1 part rice to 1.1 parts water. For every 180 milliliters of dry rice, use 200 milliliters of water. That extra 10% accounts for the higher water uptake of short grain varieties, which absorb more than basmati or jasmine during cooking. The generic 1-to-1 rule that circulates online tends to leave Japanese rice undercooked at the center. Use the cup that came with the cooker, level it off precisely, and the ratio handles everything else. Number 27, the 30-minute soak. After rinsing and adding your measured water, leave the rice to sit cold in the pot for 20 to 30 minutes before pressing cook. Japanese cooks have built this weight into the rice routine for generations. The reason is osmosis. Water moves gradually through the outer layer of each grain toward its center. Once the whole grain is partially hydrated before the heat begins, it cooks evenly from edge to core. Without the soak, the outside softens while the center stays underdone. Number 26, the sake gloss. This was one of my grandmother Yuki's everyday moves, almost invisible when you do it. Add 1 tablespoon of sake to the cooking water just before pressing start and give it a gentle stir. Sake contains amino acids that adsorb to the surface of starch granules as they swell under heat, producing a subtle sheen across every grain and a depth of flavor that is hard to name but immediately noticeable. Yuki used this with plain white rice and seasoned dishes alike. Restaurant-quality gloss at home for the cost of 1 tablespoon. Number 25, the 10-minute rest. When the cook cycle ends, do not open the lid. Walk away for 10 full minutes. Every Japanese home cook knows this step, and it is one of the most consistently skipped. When the active cycle stops, moisture is still unevenly distributed, with the grains near the base having absorbed more than those at the top. 10 minutes of sealed rest lets residual steam redistribute throughout the pot, equalizing texture across every grain. 10 minutes, eyelid closed, fixes everything. Number 24, the vinegar fluff. Add 1 teaspoon of plain white vinegar or rice vinegar per cup of uncooked rice to the cooking water. This is an old practice in Asian kitchens for rice that tends to clump or go gummy. The acetic acid partially inhibits starch gelatinization, the process by which starch granules swell and fuse under heat. That slight inhibition keeps grains from bonding at the surface. You will not taste it in the finished rice at all. The grains simply come out more distinct and separate. Number 23, the bread fix. If your rice finishes cooking too wet, lay a single slice of plain white bread directly on top, close the lid, and leave it on keep warm for 5 to 10 minutes. Bread is hygroscopic, meaning its starch matrix naturally attracts and holds water molecules. As steam rises off the wet rice, the bread absorbs it rather than letting it fall back onto the grains as condensation. It regulates the humidity inside the sealed pot. The rice underneath will be noticeably drier and fluffier. Now, those first 8 were all about getting the rice itself right. The next stretch is where this appliance stops being a rice machine and starts being an entire kitchen, especially number 12, which produces a traditional Japanese sweet drink in the keep warm function that you would never guess was possible. Let's keep going. Number 22, the kombu umami drop. My grandmother Yuki always kept a strip of dried kombu near the rice cooker, and this is why. Before pressing cook, lay a single 5-centimeter piece on top of the rinsed soaked rice and remove it after the cycle ends. Kombu is extraordinarily rich in glutamic acid, the compound Japanese chemist Ikeda Kakunai identified in 1908 as the source of the 5th taste, umami. As the water heats, it draws that compound into the cooking liquid, and every grain absorbs it during gelatinization. Number 21, takikomi gohan. After rinsing and soaking your rice, add 1 tablespoon each of soy sauce, sake, and mirin to the measured water. Lay your protein and chopped vegetables on top of the rice without stirring them in. Run the standard cook cycle and do not open the lid until it finishes. The savory liquid infuses every grain during gelatinization, while the toppings steam above, their juices dripping down into the rice below. Do not stir before the cycle ends. That single instruction separates evenly flavored rice from seasoning that pools only at the bottom. Number 20, okayu, the healing porridge. Okayu has been the comfort food of Japanese home cooks for centuries, the go-to for sick days and cold mornings. The ratio is 1 rice cooker cup of rinsed short grain rice to 5 cups of water. Use the porridge setting if your cooker has one. If not, run the standard white rice cycle and leave it on keep warm for 30 additional minutes. The high water ratio and extended heat cause starch granules to fully swell and rupture, releasing amylose chains into the liquid and producing the silky, easily digestible texture that is the whole point of the dish. Number 19, Japanese sweet potato in the cooker. Cut satsumimo into 2-centimeter pieces and place them on top of the rice with your measured water without mixing them in. Reduce the cooking water by about 2 tablespoons to account for the moisture the sweet potato releases. Run the standard cycle. Steam, generated below, rises and envelops the sweet potato pieces, cooking them through as the rice finishes. Their natural sugars drip down into the rice as they soften. A complete side and main in 1 cycle, no extra pot needed. Number 18, quinoa without a second pot. Rinse the quinoa well to remove the bitter saponin coating. Add it to the inner pot with 2 parts water for every 1 part quinoa, and run a standard white rice cycle. The rice cooker's thermostat maintains a steady simmer until the water is fully absorbed and switches off automatically, exactly the same mechanism it uses for rice. Quinoa's starch gelatinizes and the seeds become tender at roughly the same temperature window as white rice. Press and walk away, same as always. Number 17, pasta in a single pot. Add enough water to fully submerge the pasta, plus about 2 extra centimeters, and stir in 1 teaspoon of salt. Press the cook cycle. Most rice cookers maintain a rolling boil during the cooking phase, which is exactly what pasta needs. The starch at the pasta surface gelatinizes in the hot water, and the gluten network softens over 10 to 12 minutes. Check doneness at the 10-minute mark by tasting a piece. Shortcuts like penne and rotini work most reliably this way. Number 16, the dual zone steam. Add 1.5 cups of water to the inner pot with no rice, place vegetables, fish, or dumplings in the steamer basket above, and press cook. Steam fills the sealed space and cooks the food above at 100 degrees Celsius with no direct contact with boiling water. Delicate vegetables keep their color and texture because they are never submerged in liquid that would draw out their pigments and water-soluble nutrients. Most people never realize how capable that steamer basket actually is. Number 15, steamed eggs, no watching required. Add 1.5 cups of water to the inner pot, place eggs in the steamer basket above, and press cook. For a fully set yolk, the cycle runs 15 to 17 minutes. For a soft, jammy center, aim for 11 to 12. Controlled steam at 100 degrees penetrates the shell and cooks white and yolk evenly through. Because the eggs are not dropped into violently boiling water, the shells rarely crack. Number 14, rice cooker cake. Lightly brush the inner pot with a neutral oil, pour in your prepared cake batter, and press the standard cook cycle for 30 to 33 minutes. When the cycle ends, leave the lid sealed for 15 more minutes. The heat at the base triggers Maillard browning, producing a golden crust on the bottom, while the trapped steam creates a humid environment that sets the structure and keeps the crumb moist and springy. In Japan, where many homes have no oven, this is simply how cake gets made. Number 13, the keep warm bread proof. Shape your bread dough into a ball and place it in the lightly oiled rice cooker pot. Set to keep warm for 10 minutes, switch it off, and leave the lid closed for 30 to 40 more minutes until the dough has grown to about 1.5 times its size. The keep warm setting holds the pot at approximately 35 to 40 degrees Celsius, precisely where yeast metabolizes most efficiently, consuming sugars and producing the carbon dioxide that inflates the gluten network. Number 12, Umami from the keep warm. Cook 300 grams of short grain rice slightly firmer than usual and cool it to 60 degrees Celsius. Stir in 100 grams of dried rice koji and 200 milliliters of warm water, then set the cooker to keep warm with the lid slightly ajar for 8 to 10 hours. Rice koji carries amylase enzymes that convert the starch chains in the cooked rice into maltose as incubation proceeds. The keep warm setting holds the pot at exactly the right temperature for those enzymes. No sugar added. The sweetness is entirely enzymatic, so you have cooked in it, baked in it, fermented a traditional Japanese drink in it. But the next stretch goes somewhere you probably did not expect. Some of these tricks do not involve cooking at all. Stay with me especially to number 2, which connects to a beauty practice Japanese women in the imperial court were following as far back as the 9th century. Keep going. Number 11, dashi water for everyday rice. My grandmother Yuki did not think of dashi as something special. It was simply the water she cooked with. Replace your measured cooking water with cooled prepared dashi, the classic Japanese stock made from kombu and katsuobushi, at the same 1 to 1.1 ratio. Every grain absorbs both glutamic acid from the kombu and inosinate from the katsuobushi during gelatinization, and these two umami compounds together produce a synergistic depth that neither delivers on its own. The rice tastes fully seasoned without a grain of added salt. That was Yuki's everyday baseline. Number 10, shiitake soaking water. Soak 3 to 4 dried shiitake mushrooms in 300 milliliters of cold water for at least 30 minutes. Strain out the mushrooms and use that liquid as part of your cooking water. Dried shiitake are among the richest food sources of guanosine monophosphate, or GMP, a separate umami compound from a completely different molecular family than the glutamic acid in kombu. When GMP and glutamic acid are both present in the cooking liquid, they amplify each other's effect on the palate through a synergy that neither compound can reach alone. Number 9, miso soup in the pot. Add 400 milliliters of water and a 5-centimeter piece of kombu to the inner pot. Press the cook setting until the water is hot and just beginning to tremble, then remove the kombu. Switch to keep warm and stir in 1 tablespoon of miso paste until dissolved, then add cubed silken tofu. Miso should never reach a full boil, which breaks down its live cultures and drives off the aromatics developed during fermentation. The cook setting heats quickly, and keep warm holds the liquid just below boiling, preserving both. Number 8, the vinegar descale. Every few months, or more often if your tap water is hard, fill the inner pot with 1 cup of plain white vinegar and 1 cup of water. Run 1 full cook cycle, let it cool completely, then discard and rinse twice with fresh water. The acetic acid in vinegar reacts with calcium carbonate, the mineral that builds up as pale scale on the heating element from hard water. That reaction dissolves the scale into water-soluble calcium acetate, which rinses cleanly away. Scale buildup forces the element to work harder and shortens appliance life. Number 7, baking soda and lemon odor erase. When your rice cooker develops a stale or lingering smell, add 1 tablespoon of baking soda to the dry inner pot and squeeze in the juice of half a lemon. Leave it to fizz for 10 minutes without letting it dry out, then rinse with warm water. Baking soda is alkaline. The citric acid in lemon juice reacts with it, producing carbon dioxide bubbles that form against the pot surface and mechanically loosen the starch residue bonded there. The acid simultaneously neutralizes the compounds responsible for stale odor. Number 6, sekihan for celebration. Sekihan is the traditional Japanese rice dish for birthdays, weddings, and special occasions, cooked in Japanese homes for centuries. Simmer 1 cup of dried azuki beans for 20 minutes and reserve the crimson cooking liquid. Combine 1 cup of sweet glutinous rice and 1 cup of standard short grain rice in the inner pot. Add the beans and fill with enough reserved liquid to reach the usual waterline. Run a standard cook cycle. The anthocyanin pigments in the azuki liquid are absorbed into the glutinous rice during gelatinization, turning the whole pot a deep celebratory pink. Number 5, the coconut oil resistant starch. Add 1 teaspoon of coconut oil per cup of uncooked rice to the cooking water before pressing start. Cook as normal, cool completely, and refrigerate for at least 12 hours before eating, reheating with a small splash of water when ready. In 2015, researchers from the College of Chemical Sciences in Sri Lanka presented findings at the American Chemical Society showing that cooking rice with coconut oil causes fat molecules to interact with amylose starch chains, forming amylose lipid complexes that resist digestive enzymes. Refrigerating the cooked rice deepens the effect further through retrogradation. The change to the starch structure survives reheating. Number 4, the cool and reheat trick. Even without any additions at all, cooking rice and refrigerating it for 12 to 24 hours before reheating changes its structure in a measurable way. A 2020 study in the Asia-Pacific Journal of Clinical Nutrition found that cooled and reheated rice produced a 20 to 35% lower glycemic response than freshly cooked rice, depending on variety. As cooked rice cools, amylose chains recrystallize into tightly packed structures that digestive enzymes have much more difficulty breaking down. Yesterday's leftovers, it turns out, are the healthier serving. Now for the final 3. These are the ones worth memorizing if you take nothing else from this video. If anyone in your life still thinks a rice cooker is a single-purpose machine, these 3 are the answer. Number 3, GABA brown rice. If your rice cooker has a GABA setting, use it for brown rice. If not, soak your rinsed brown rice in warm water held at approximately 40 degrees Celsius or 104 degrees Fahrenheit for 2 full hours before running the cook cycle. At that temperature, an enzyme called glutamate decarboxylase activates inside the grain and converts glutamic acid into gamma-aminobutyric acid, or GABA. Zojiruchi's own documentation states that the dedicated GABA setting produces 1.5 times the GABA content compared to standard brown rice preparation. The warm soak takes no active effort at all. Number 2, rice water face and hair rinse. Save the milky water from the very first rinse of your rice before it runs clear. Keep it in the refrigerator and use it as a facial toner or hair rinse within 24 hours. Yuki did this every single morning without fail, and she was not alone. Women in Japan's Heian imperial court from 794 to 1185 AD used this rinse water daily for their hair and complexion, calling it yusuru. Rice wash water contains ferulic acid, a potent antioxidant, and allantoin, a compound that supports the skin barrier and reduces inflammation. A tradition over 1,000 years old, built on water that was always going to be there anyway. Number 1, the cold kombu night soak. The night before you plan to cook, place a 5 to 8 centimeter strip of dried kombu in the rice cooker pot with your measured cooking water. Cover and refrigerate overnight. Remove the kombu in the morning and cook as normal. This was Yuki's most prized trick, the one she returned to whenever she wanted plain white rice to taste far beyond what it should be capable of. Cold water extracts glutamic acid from kombu slowly over 8 to 12 hours without the bitterness and cloudiness that come from heating kombu above 60 degrees Celsius. Every grain absorbs this clean, deeply savory base during gelatinization. Just the patience to let the water work while you sleep. That was her edge, and now it is yours. 30. Tricks. 1 appliance and a thread of glutamic acid running from the kombu Yuki, laid in her pot every morning all the way to the cold water soak, she swore would change plain white rice forever. She was right. If you try even one of these this week, tell me which one in the comments. And if someone in your life still thinks their rice cooker is a one-button machine, share this with them. That is the whole reason this video exists. Subscribe if you want more of what Yuki knew. There is a lot more where this came from.